Man, that didn't take long at all. That didn't take long. I thought for sure, there was a time when Mexico would fight back harder. But no, this time they're they're just like, no mas, no mas. What's up? This is Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. I got to tell you, what a whirlwind weekend. Donald Trump, first of all, never, that's the thing. There were a lot of reporters saying, oh, President Donald Trump is going back to Mar-a-Lago. It's only been 2 weeks and Donald Trump needs a vacation. What they don't realize is Donald Trump doesn't ever take a vacation. When he goes back to Mar-a-Lago, he's not working. He's just changing the venue. He's going to Mar-a-Lago to do more work. He's going to Mar-a-Lago probably so he can do work unhindered or uninterrupted by, the people in Washington, D.C., who don't really like to do work on the weekends or any other day. But look, Donald Trump, what he did this weekend is nothing. I mean, people are saying, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Oh my gosh, it's great. It's actually what's supposed to be done. When you think about American leadership, when you think about American exceptionalism, when you think about, the powers that we have, this is why it's so weird for people. This is why people are freaking out. They're all freaking out because they are not used to this kind of leadership. They are not used to a president that does something, or a president that does something, period. They're used to Joe Biden. They're used to these other folks. They're used to, Barack Obama. They're used to people that put out a lot of talk and not a lot of action. But Donald Trump is the other way around. Donald Trump says, here's what we're going to do. And then he goes and does it. And that is why some people are they're just not used to it. They're not really sure what's happening, and they are confused by it. Mexico and Canada, by the way, are not confused by it. And that's the other thing too. All Mexico and Canada and these other countries, China, they understand what Donald Trump is doing, and they're not angry. They're not upset. They're just mad. They're just frustrated because they thought they could get away with this for a lot longer. They were all looking forward, don't forget, to another 4 years of Joe Biden. They were all looking forward to another 4 years of Democrat control. And with Democrat control comes Canadian control and Mexican control and Chinese control. When you have a strong conservative leader in the White House like Donald Trump, it means that the other countries just can't walk all over us anymore. And that's exactly what that's what's happening. That's what we're learning. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. And we'll get to all that here. We'll get to all that here in just a minute. First, though, thanks so much for being here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're listening to this podcast on iTunes or Spotify. That's the other one. If you're listening, wherever you happen to be listening, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you tell your podcast platform, I love this podcast and I want it every single day. I want it all the time. Todo la tiempo for our Latino listeners. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're setting those notifications too, or Rumble. Make sure that you're liking it and sharing it, because that's how we grow. We grow because we have people like you who love the show, who know other people that would love the show, and they share this show with those other people. So if you can share it, if you're on Facebook, it's a one-click thing. You just point, click, share, and we're good to go. And then hopefully we'll be able to get larger and larger and larger, just like Chris Christie. Listen, I miss Chris Christie. Although I don't really, because I see him way too much. These tariffs, the big news, of course, was the tariffs all weekend long. But Donald Trump also probably had the busiest, most effective weekend any president has ever had. He not only was strong-arming Canada and Mexico, but he sent Marco Rubio down to Panama. And he had big wins in all of these things. I mean, it's really fantastic to see somebody on a Saturday and a Sunday get more done than most people get through Monday through Friday. And it's all about putting the right people in place and then having them execute the desired task, making sure that the agenda is clear and using whatever tools you have at your disposal. And people don't understand the thing about these tariffs. These tariffs are tools. These tariffs are tools to get a specific job done. And they don't get it. They think it's a threat. They think it's an economic sanction. They think it's an embargo. They don't understand. You know who doesn't understand what tariffs are? Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer, the minority leader of the Democrat Party in the Senate. Chuck Schumer does not understand what tariffs are. And Chuck Schumer, I mean, he's been in Washington, D.C. long enough that if anyone should understand what a tariff is, it's him. But he has no clue.
And not only does he have no clue, but he embarrassed himself yet again. This is the most embarrassing thing to happen to Chuck Schumer since he put cheese on raw meat. I don't know if you remember that photo. It was Chuck Schumer, and he was, I forget what he was. It was it a Labor Day celebration? I think it may have been Labor Day. Chuck Schumer hold on, burgers. Let me just find it for you here. Chuck Schumer was trying to, here he is. He's trying to look like he's just one of the guys, like an everyday average American. He's out there grilling. I forget what the holiday was. Let's see if it says here. It was February. I don't know what it was, but he was grilling and he put the burgers and the hot dogs on the grill. And before he flipped them, he put a slice of cheese on it. I imagine this was, of course, all for show. He wasn't actually cooking. He wasn't actually cooking burgers, but that's it. And he looked ridiculous and he made a fool of himself. And apparently he didn't learn his lesson. Apparently he's okay making a fool of himself because he did it again this weekend with this ridiculous explanation of tariffs and how they're going to negatively affect your Super Bowl Sunday, which is coming up, by the way, this Sunday. Tariffs are going to destroy your Super Bowl watch party wherever you happen to be because you won't have anything to drink and you won't have anything to eat.
Let's just take Super Bowl Sunday, okay? It's going to affect beer, okay? Most of it, Corona here, comes from Mexico. It's going to affect your guac, because what is guacamole made of? Avocados, both from Mexico.
All right, so your beer and your guac are going to be affected. Why? Because beer comes from Mexico. Really? Beer comes from Mexico? It's weird because I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the RNC back in July, and there were lots of beer there. There was beer everywhere. There was Pabst, there was Miller, there was everywhere you turn, there was beer. It was literally pouring down the streets, but that's just because, a couple of people, you drink too much beer, you start spilling it. But there's beer in St. Louis, Missouri. I don't know if you've heard beer in St. Louis, Missouri. Latrobe, Pennsylvania. They got that Rolling Rock, or there's all kinds of Yingling. I think there's beer everywhere. Sam Adams up in Boston. Everywhere you go, there's beer. If you walk down the street in any major metropolitan area, there's a microbrewery that is making their own beer. Here in Florida, we have multiple of them, and they all have these delicious flavors. Some of them are like a citrus wheat beer. Some of them are hoppy IPAs. They all have cute and funny names. But anyway, it doesn't matter. There's lots of beer in the United States of America, but according to Chuck Schumer, most beer is made in Mexico. Now, it's true that Corona is made in Mexico, but Corona is one varietal of like a cajillion different beers. And if you don't want to spend more money on beer this Super Bowl Sunday, just don't buy Corona. Why don't you try buying Land Shark, which I believe is made in the United States of America and is very similar to Corona, or one of the other thousands of different beers that there are. And as far as the guacamole goes, I mean, is guacamole, it's like avocados are made in Mexico. Really? That Mexico has cornered the market on avocados? They have a monopoly on growing avocados? I didn't know that. California is going to be really shocked to hear that because California also grows a lot of avocados, but people don't know that. You know why? Because cheap Mexican avocados have undercut the California avocado crops and the California avocado economy. There are multiple states. Florida grows avocados. I think Texas may grow avocados. There's avocados we're lousy with avocados, but because Mexico hires cheap labor, and because they don't have the regulations, and because there's no tariffs on the imports, they just ship their cheap avocados in here. Everybody starts shoving their face full of guacamole, and they ignore the locally grown avocados, which are delicious, which are huge, which are fantastic, and of course, which bolster the American economy in favor of those Mexican ones. So if you're having a Super Bowl party, just know you're going to have to mortgage the house to get your beer and avocados, or you could drink different beer and maybe, I don't know, make a Velveeta dip or some buffalo chicken dip, which is delicious. Maybe you make some 5-layer dip without avocados, or maybe you could make one of 1,000 other appetizers, chicken wings, mozzarella sticks. There's 1,000 pigs in a blanket. It doesn't really. I don't know anybody who's ever gone to a party and said, wait, there's no guacamole here. I'm leaving. I'm not watching the Super Bowl this year because you know why? There's no guacamole because Donald Trump put a tariff on Mexico. Now, the good news is Mexico folded. So Chuck Schumer's ridiculously embarrassing explanation of tariffs was short-lived. Good news for him, because the Mexico tariffs have been lifted because Mexico they pulled up the white flag, the flag Blanca, whatever it is. I don't know what flag is in Spanish. And they started waving it, and Donald Trump said, okay, no more tariffs. No more tariffs on Mexico. Here's what happened. This was, let me show you. This was Saturday. Donald Trump on Truth Social. Today, I have implemented a 75% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada and a 10% additional tariff on China. This was done through the International Emergency Economic Powers Act because of the major threat of illegal aliens and deadly drugs killing our citizens, including fentanyl. We need to protect Americans, and it is my duty as president to ensure the safety of all. I made a promise on my campaign to stop the flood of illegal aliens and drugs from pouring across our borders, and Americans overwhelmingly voted in favor of it. So on Saturday, Donald Trump levied tariffs on Mexico, on Canada, and on China. On Sunday, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum vows resilience as UF tariffs trigger trade war. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum said on Sunday that reason should prevail a day after her government and the U.S. announced tariffs against one another, raising her fist in the air. As she said, she does not lack the courage to respond. Sheinbaum ordered retaliatory tariffs on Saturday in response to the U.S. decision to slap 25% tariffs on all goods coming from Mexico as a trade war broke out between the two neighbors. This was yesterday, Sunday. So on Saturday, Donald Trump imposes tariffs. On Sunday, Claudia Sheinbaum raises her fist in the air and imposes retaliatory tariffs. And then this morning, Donald Trump posts on Truth Social, I just spoke with President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico. It was a very friendly conversation wherein she agreed to immediately supply 10,000 Mexican soldiers on the border separating Mexico and the United States. These soldiers will be specifically designated to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal migrants into our country. We further agreed to immediately pause the anticipated tariffs for a 1-month period, during which we will have negotiations headed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, and high-level representatives of Mexico. I look forward to participating in those negotiations with President Sheinbaum as we attempt to achieve a deal between our two countries. So Donald Trump on Saturday morning imposes tariffs, and on Monday morning, Mexico goes, ay, caramba, no, lo siento. And they back down. Here's Claudia Sheinbaum's official statement that she posted. She posted this on X. Sostuvimos una buena conversación con Presidente Trump con mucho respeto a nuestra relación y la soberanía. Llegamos a una serie de acuerdos. Uno. Mexico you know what? I should probably read it in English. She wrote, we had a good conversation with President Trump with great respect for our relationship and sovereignty. We reached a series of agreements. Number one, Mexico will immediately reinforce the northern border with 10,000 members of the National Guard to prevent drug trafficking from Mexico to the United States, particularly fentanyl. Number two, the United States is committed to working to prevent the trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico. Number three, our teams will begin working today on two fronts, security and trade. Number four, they are pausing tariffs for 1 month from now. So Mexico gets it. Mexico folded. Mexico said, look, you know what? Donald Trump is back and he's badder than ever. Donald Trump means business. They know that the American economy does not rely on Mexican imports the way the Mexican economy relies on American imports. They know that if they stop selling avocados to the United States of America, that we will just grow more of our own or eat less guacamole. They know that if they stop sending their cerveza más fina into bars and restaurants and Super Bowl parties in the United States of America, we will just be inspired to produce more of our own American brewed beer. And Chuck Schumer will now, I don't know if Chuck Schumer is going to eat his words or whatnot, because here's what happened. Donald Trump got exactly what he wanted, and the tariffs have been lifted. So not only will your avocados and beer not be more expensive this Super Bowl Sunday, but you won't have to worry about somebody, maybe possibly slipping fentanyl into your drink as well.
Let's just take Super Bowl Sunday, okay? It's going to affect beer, okay? Most of it, Corona here, comes from Mexico. It's going to affect your guac, because what is guacamole made of? Avocados, both from Mexico.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going out on a limb here. I may be wrong, but I don't think I am. I don't think Chuck Schumer could tell you the two teams playing in the Super Bowl this year for if he tried. I bet if somebody asked, by the way, Mr. Schumer, Senator Schumer, which team are you rooting for in the Super Bowl this year? I don't think he'd even know. Yet there he is prattling on about avocados and beer being more expensive. Fun fact, avocados and beer won't be more expensive because President Donald Trump, basically in 48 hours got exactly what he wanted. In 48 hours, using tariffs, an important economic and foreign policy tool, Donald Trump was able to basically tell Mexico, here's how it's going to be. And in doing so, he kept Americans safe, which is exactly what he's supposed to do. Now, the good news is Chuck Schumer can go back. He can go back and spend a lot of time now wondering or worrying about how he's going to defend himself against the U.S. Department of Justice, investigating him for threats against Supreme Court justices. Do you remember that? This is it. This is the whole, you better watch yourself because the internet never forgets. Donald Trump knows exactly who said what and what was said by whom and who did what and who did and what was done to whom by whom. He knows all of these things. He has the names, he has the information. And now that he's back in power and now that Republicans are cleaning house, they're going back and they're going to let everybody know there must be consequences. There must be consequences for your actions now and your actions then. And if your actions now are bad, or if your actions then were bad, you're going to suffer the consequences now. And Chuck Schumer, you may remember this, or you may not have, threatened two Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh. He did it outside of the U.S. Supreme Court. And it was televised. And no consequences, no shock there, were ever brought against Chuck Schumer. Here's what he said.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what.
Oh, wait. Oh, I missed it. Sorry, I turned it off before it was over. Here it is.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you.
Yeah, you won't know what hit you. That was the real part there that was kind of, that's the one that was really kind of shocking to everyone, was when you had and he was Senate Majority Leader at that time. The Majority Leader of the Senate openly threatening two Supreme Court justices over the reversal of Roe v. Wade. This was him saying, you won't know what hit you. What's going to hit him? A baseball bat? A water balloon? A bullet? A pipe bomb? What is it? What kind of threat? And you may remember that these are Supreme Court justices who had protesters and threats outside of their homes. You may remember Brett Kavanaugh. Somebody flew across the country with a knife, with a stun gun, with pepper spray, with a pistol. They flew to Justice Kavanaugh's house, and their goal was to do him harm. The goal was to do him in until they called the police on themselves and turned themselves in. But these are the kinds of things that Chuck Schumer did. Now, Chuck Schumer is under investigation finally. This was a letter sent to the Honorable Chuck Schumer from Edward R. Martin Jr., the United States Attorney. Dear Senator Schumer, as United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, I receive requests for information and clarification. I take these requests seriously and act on them with letters like this one you are receiving. At this time, I respectfully request that you clarify your comments from March 4th, 2020. Your comments were at a private rally off the campus of the U.S. Capitol. You made them clearly and in a way that many found threatening. Your exact words were, I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. We take threats against public officials very seriously. I look forward to your cooperation with my letter of inquiry after request. Should you have further questions regarding this matter, please do not hesitate to call my office or schedule a time to meet in person. All the best, Edward R. Martin Jr., attorney at law. Chuck Schumer is finally getting investigated for threats he made years ago. But because the people in charge of enforcing the law didn't want to enforce the law, he got away with it. And that's what happens. That's why the presidency is so important, because the president is the chief law enforcement officer in the United States of America. The president, the DOJ, these are the people who decide which laws are going to be enforced. Sure, you could break a law. You could break all the laws you want, but if you're not going to enforce the laws, then it doesn't matter. That's why all these illegal immigrants are in the country. They walked right across the border and nobody enforced the law. Why? They chose not to. That's why sometimes you get away with speeding, because they choose not to enforce the law, or it's just very difficult for them to do so because you're flying by them at 95 miles an hour in a 70-mile-per-hour zone. But Chuck Schumer, when he did this, he knew he wasn't going to get in trouble. Joe Biden wasn't going to investigate him for saying what he said. Joe Biden wasn't going to come after him for threatening Supreme Court justices, especially two Supreme Court justices that Donald Trump put up, because that's what he was. He wasn't just threatening Neil Gorsuch. He wasn't just threatening Brett Kavanaugh. He was threatening Donald Trump's justices. He could have threatened John Roberts. He could have, well, I guess John Roberts. He could have threatened Clarence Thomas, right? He didn't. Why? Because Donald Trump didn't pick him. He specifically mentioned the two justices that Donald Trump had appointed. And that is why he thought he could get away with it. Because at that time, everybody in a position of power hated Donald Trump. The DOJ, the FBI, the White House, everybody, the media, everybody. Donald Trump was public enemy number one, and the Republicans had zero power anywhere. So go ahead. Threaten SCOTUS. No one's going to do a thing.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch. I want to tell you, Kavanaugh. You have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you.
Now, and now Chuck Schumer doesn't know what hit him. Well, a letter from the U.S. attorney's office so that they can take care of it. Listen, these tariffs, Canada's, I guess, now the only one left to fold, and they're going to probably give in to Donald Trump's demands. I would say today, maybe tomorrow by the latest. And I'm going to play you what Justin Trudeau said, because this guy, first of all, I didn't even know this guy was still prime minister. I remember he came to Mar-a-Lago, and when he was at Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump called him Governor Trudeau and said Canada should be the 51st state and you can be the governor. And he was very upset by that was one of those things that he was very upset by, and he went back. And then all of a sudden he showed up for work one day and everyone's like, "You're the weakest prime minister ever. Donald Trump belittled you in front of the entire world. You're not fit to run Canada." And so they all quit, and they said, "You need to quit." And now he quit, but he's still prime minister. It's a really weird thing. So anyway, so now he's got to deal with all this tariff stuff. And Justin Trudeau's got to do something that Justin Trudeau's not good at. He's got to be tough. Justin Trudeau's got to do something that Justin Trudeau's not good at, and that is lead with a backbone and integrity and boldness and power and courage. And that's what he tried to do, except his voice and his demeanor gave him away, because he looks like you can tell this is a guy who's sweating through his drawers as he stands up on television and tries to talk tough and fight back against the likes of President Donald Trump.
I am announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action.
Okay, just right there. He has this big swallow. Just when he starts, he's like, I'm announced, like he's petrified to make this announcement because he knows that the hammer's going to come down.
I am announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives.
Listen to him. His voice is, he's whispering. He's like almost like maybe Donald Trump won't hear me if I don't yell. that kind of thing. But he's saying, look, we're announcing tariffs, retaliatory tariffs on the United States of America. And he knows he's going to lose. He knows he's going to fail. He knows he's already out of a job. He doesn't want to have to deal with this. He wants to push this off to Pierre Poilievre or whoever's next in line. And then he says something ridiculous. Then he goes, here's what we need to do in Canada. We need to stop drinking bourbon.
And now is also the time to choose Canada. There are many ways for you to do your part. It might mean checking the labels at the supermarket and picking Canadian-made products. It might mean opting for Canadian rye over Kentucky bourbon, or foregoing Florida orange juice altogether. It might mean changing your summer vacation plans to stay here in Canada and explore the many national and provincial parks, historical sites, and tourist destinations our great country has to offer.
Okay, so what he's saying is, instead of drinking American bourbon, please drink Canadian rye. Instead of drinking Florida orange juice, please drink, I don't even know what, snow? What do they have? Maple syrup? What are you going to drink? There's no oranges in Canada. There's not a single orange. They're not a single tropical fruit. You're not going to have lemons or limes. You're not going to have pineapples. You're not going to have coconut. You're not going to have anything because there's a certain temperature requirement that Canada just doesn't meet in order to grow those kinds of foods. And then he goes, do not, whatever, under any circumstances, do not go to Disney World. Do not go to Orlando, Florida. Whatever, I don't care how badly your kids are crying, eh? You've got to take them, when they say, Daddy, Mommy, can we go to Disney World, eh? Tell them, no, we're going to the national park. We're going to go watch the beavers build dams. And we're going to go watch the moose do whatever moose do. I don't even know what they, walk around like moose. And that's what we're going to do. And we in Mickey Mouse, no Mickey Mouse, we're going to go see Mickey Moose. That's what they're going to be telling their kids. Thank you. In Canada. But it's not even, listen, it's not even working. Look at this photo that I saw on X. This is a photo. Okay. Look at this. This is a photo of a liquor store in Canada. And they've taken away a lot of American liquor off the shelf already. Supposedly this is the bourbon. And they replaced it with signs that say buy Canadian instead. Buy Canadian instead. So there's empty shelves and they say don't buy American, buy Canadian. But if you look at the shelf, I clearly see Elijah Craig, which is American, it's made in Kentucky. I see Old Forester, which is made in Kentucky. By the way, I've been to both of those distilleries. In fact, I have a bottle of Elijah Craig that I bottled myself in Kentucky, which the last time I checked is in the United States of America. There's a bottle of Maker's Mark over here, also from Kentucky, Nob Hill. They're full of it. They're like, buy Canadian, except we already spent a lot of money on this Old Forester and this Elijah Craig and this Maker's Mark. So but as soon as this quantity is done, as soon as this shipment is sold out, then we would like you to buy Canadian. There's Basil Hayden's. Basil Hayden's. Guess where that's made? Kentucky. Guess where Kentucky is? In the United States of America. I don't even know what they took down here. They took down probably the cheap stuff, right? Or maybe they had like 1 or 2 bottles left. They're like, all right, we only got 1 or 2 bottles left of Beam, so just pull the Beam off and we'll just put up the sign and we'll tweet it out there to appease the prime minister. But it's not going to take long for the Canadians to do exactly what the Mexicans did. The Mexicans saw that Donald Trump was being truthful, that he was being real, that he wasn't going to say no, that he wasn't going to back down. And the problem with Canada is that they import, just like Mexico does, way more stuff from the United States than vice versa. We can do without Canadian whiskey. I haven't had a drop of Canadian whiskey in, gosh, I don't even know how long. Maple syrup? I don't even drink. I don't even eat pancakes. And I don't even eat breakfast anymore. So let's do without the maple syrup. Bring back Aunt Jemima. We've got Vermont. We've got New Hampshire. We've got Maine. I'm pretty sure there's other places where you can get maple syrup. We don't need Canadian. If you want to look at what the steel, we make steel here. Cars, we can make cars here. We could shut down the border and be perfectly happy. There's a couple things, maybe, what would we make? I'm going to be honest with you. I can't think of one thing that I purchase on a regular basis from Canada that I couldn't do without or that I couldn't find an American supplement for. And Mexico gets that. Mexico knew exactly what was going to happen. We would lose 5% of our gross domestic product if these tariffs continued, or if there was a real trade war with us and Mexico. They would lose 40. That's a 35% trade differentiation. And the fact that Mexico caved so quickly, the fact that they were like, we're done. You win, Presidente Trumpo. The fact that they did so quickly knows that they understand that they've been taking advantage of us. They know. They're like, man, we got busted. That's all this is. They got caught. And they know, all right, we got caught. Party's over, folks. Party's over. No more, the stealing from the United States piggy bank. Now we've got to, do some fair trade. And Canada's going to be the same way. Justin Trudeau is no match for Donald Trump, especially since he's a lame duck. He's a lame duck politician up there. Oh, I guess lame goose. Isn't that what it is? Canadian, they have geese up there. So maybe Justin Trudeau's a lame goose. But it's working. And again, the reason we have these tariffs, and people, it's twofold. Sure, Donald Trump loves tariffs. And anyone who's shocked by this shouldn't be shocked by this. He's been saying this forever. He's been saying it through the campaign. He's been saying it since his first term. Anyone who's like, I can't believe Donald Trump levied these tariffs. Really? How many times have we heard Donald Trump use the word tariff? Man, if I had $1 for every time Donald Trump said tariff, well, we wouldn't need tariffs. We'd all be rich. But JD Vance was on the Sunday shows and he was like, look, Donald Trump's not giving in. And again, this is important. This is not just about money. Okay. It's not just about fentanyl and keeping Americans safe, although that is a big part of it, but it's also about using this to reignite or refocus people on the fact that they need to respect us as their neighbor and as a superpower. We lost respect under Joe Biden, and Donald Trump and these tariffs are getting it back.
We'll see what happens, but I think, unfortunately, the retaliation has already happened. The problem with this whole idea that they're going to retaliate is they have already been taking advantage of America for decades. The retaliation is Donald Trump saying no more. We're not going to be taken advantage of anymore, and I think it's important the president is doing what he's doing. Now, look, it looks different ways and comes in different forms, whether you're talking about Canada or China or Mexico. We know that Mexico has allowed the facilitation of the illegal drug trade and illegal sex trafficking for years and has done nothing about it. If they want to be a better partner to us, the time starts now. We know the Chinese, of course, have stolen American manufacturing jobs for 30, 40 years, and also that they've facilitated the trafficking of illegal fentanyl into Mexico, where the drug cartels then bring it into our country. We are sick of being taken advantage of. We still have, thank God, the biggest economy in the entire world, the best people and the best workers. But the message from President Trump to the entire world is very clear. We are done being taken advantage of, and we have a president who looks out for the interests of American citizens. Thank God we do, and we're going to try to do it the best we can.
Yeah, and you guys are going to fold like cheap card tables, which is exactly what happened. You know how you know that Donald Trump's right? I'm going to tell you, there's a way that you can tell that Donald Trump was right about tariffs. And the way that you can tell that Donald Trump was right about these tariffs is because CNN reported that Donald Trump was right about these tariffs. CNN reported that these tariffs are actually a good thing, and they're not going to be inflationary the way that people said. It's not going to be cause some kind of horrible economic downturn like these people are saying. These are going to get the job done because these are pointed, targeted tariffs that are required, that send a message, and that have a specific task. Like every task has a tool. This task has a tool. We need the Mexican government, the Canadian government to stop sending drugs in here and illegals in here that are killing Americans. And CNN's like, you know what? Donald Trump's onto something.
One thing he's never changed his mind over is tariffs. You can go back and look in the CNN archives from the 90s, and Donald Trump's talking about tariffs in the way he talks about them now. We've had tariffs as long as we've had a country. They've always been a tool to exact foreign policy goals. Right now, to solve our immigration problem, we have to put pressure on Mexico. We have to get Mexico's attention. They have to help us deal with the flood of people coming from Central America. We can't do it without them. The tariff is a great tool to do that.
The tariff is a great tool to do that. And that guy's a genius because today Mexico said we're putting soldiers on the border. We're going to help you with the illegal flow of drugs from Mexico into the United States of America, and we would appreciate it if you would pause the tariffs. And Donald Trump said, I will pause the tariffs for 1 month, but you better do what you said you're going to do. And so far, so good. I would say it's Monday. I would say by Wednesday, we should probably hear that Canada's backtracked. But it's happening all over. The entire world understands Donald Trump and what he's trying to accomplish, and that he's not going to take no for an answer. And they understand, everybody knows the power of the United States of America. And they know that when wielded with an iron fist and with fortitude and with a backbone by somebody who knows, by somebody who gets it, somebody who says, I have a mandate from the American people to make America great again, and we don't care, we're America first. That's the other thing too. This whole thing with putting the rest of the world first, that's over. That's over. And one of the ways we know that is because Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they basically took the USAID and they, as Elon Musk said, we spent the weekend putting it into the wood chipper. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute, but I do want to remind you that today, right after the show, we're going to have our very first after party. That's right. We're going to have our very first Mark Kaye Show after party, and it's going to be in our our newly minted Kayetriot Club, which you can find on Locals. Now, Locals, if you're a subscriber to our Locals page, you're already in. We had somebody who was confused this weekend because she's like, I'm already a supporter on Locals. How do I join the Kayetriot Club? You're in. If you're a supporter on Locals, you can go and you can watch the Kayetriot Club. You can watch the after party. You can get your 25% discount on all of our merchandise. You can get your free stickers because we have free stickers for all. We have free stickers for all of these all of our Kayetriot Club members. We'll send them out to you. Just pay shipping and handling. But if you're not a member of the Kayetriot Club or a supporter on Locals and you'd like to become one, then you can definitely join us for the after party today and every single day. We're going to kick it off right after probably like around, I don't know, we got like 20, 30 more minutes here and then we'll go kick it. I don't know how long it's going to be. It's our very first one. We may talk about some stuff that we don't talk about here typically. We may talk about some stuff that may be a little too hot for Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Oh, I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about Kanye's naked girlfriend at the Grammys. I don't know what's going to happen. It's an after party. It's not planned. It will take some questions, do some Q&A. It's going to be, all I know is it's going to be really, really exciting. But I don't know anything else. I don't know anything else other than that. So there is that's happening on our Locals page. And if you want to become a supporter, just go to Kayetriots right here, Kayetriots.com. It'll take you right to Locals. You can sign up. You can pledge your support. It's $10 a month to be a member, which is like literally nothing. It's literally nothing, but the more people we can get to join the Kayetriot Club, the longer we'll be able to do what we're doing. And the better we'll be able to do it because we'll be able to, increase our spread. We'll be able to create new opportunities. We'll be able to get more guests. We'll be able to produce more content. I mean, the more support we have from our audience, the more we can support our audience is basically how that goes. It's like it's like a trade agreement. So anyway, join the Kayetriot Club, $10 a month. If you join for the year, you get 2 months free. So I would 100% I would go ahead and knock it out in one fell swoop. Pay for 10 months, you get 12, and you get everything else involved. The 25% discount on all Kayetriot merch. And of course, you get the free stickers and access to the after party, which is coming up, like I said, a little later on today. But the USAID, let's talk a little bit about the USAID because Elon Musk wrote something on Twitter. USAID is a ball of worms. There is no apple. And when there is no apple, you just need to get rid of the whole thing. That's why it's got to go. It's beyond repair. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been all over the USAID as well, and she's been working diligently to get rid of it. Marco Rubio was just put in charge of the USAID moments before this show began. The USAID from the American people. They just play. Here it is. Eric Daughtry breaking. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has just been made the acting administrator of USAID. The agency has been under scrutiny of a potential shutdown. Now, a lot of people say, what exactly is the USAID? The USAID is a $40 billion taxpayer money pit, according to Mario Nawfal. USAID spent $40 billion in 2023 across 100 plus countries while maintaining expensive offices worldwide and 10,000 staff members, most stationed overseas. Trump and Doge now target the agency Elon calls a viper's nest of radical left Marxists. The agency's spending has shifted from 80% of developmental capital flows in 1961 to just 10% today, yet bureaucracy grows. As DOJ officials investigate waste, they found restricted access and resistance, leading to removal of top security officials blocking transparency efforts. So what happened was the DOJ staff, they wanted to go in and they wanted to see what was going on with the USAID. They wanted to make sure that, they wanted to see where the government waste was, where the money was going, what was necessary, what was totally ridiculous waste of funding. And when they tried to access the USAID with the full approval of Donald Trump and the executive branch of government, they were shown resistance and they were basically locked out. So the people in charge of the USAID, they were out, they were gone. See, it wouldn't want to be you. They got the boot. They got canned. And then Elon Musk went in with his DOJ engineers. They looked into it. They found the waste. They said, this is unacceptable. We've got to get rid of it all. And Donald Trump even spoke about it yesterday on the tarmac when he came back from Joint Base Andrews. He was asked about it. Here's what he said.
Well, it's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics, and we're getting them out. USAID, run by radical lunatics, and we're getting them out. And then we'll make a decision.
Yeah, then we're going to make a decision about whether or not it stays or whether or not it goes. But it looks like, look, all signs point to it's going. All signs point to there's no reason for this agency. When you want to talk about shutting down an entire agency to save billions of dollars for the United States of America and her citizens, this would be a great place to start. And Brian Mast, Congressman Brian Mast from right here in Florida, he was on with Margaret Brennan. I don't really care, Margaret. That Margaret Brennan. She's 0 for 2 on guests from the Republican Party. She's 0 for 2. Last week it was J.D. Vance. I don't really care, Margaret. That was his big line from this week. This week, or from last week rather, Brian Mast basically he J.D. Vanced Margaret Brennan again on Face the Nation. Eventually, they're going to have to look at replacing her because she just can't hack it. She just can't take the heat. They're going to have to get her out of the kitchen because she goes after people clearly not knowing or doing any research as to what they're doing, who they are, what they're tasked with, what their accomplishments are, or what she's talking about. And then when she gets hit with truth bombs, she has no reaction other than to tuck her tail between her legs and run away. And here's what happened with Brian Mast this weekend on Face the Nation.
As purging of people throughout the State Department, other agencies, where we're freezing aid. These are all very important and necessary steps to make sure that we secure America, and we're going to support that.
I'm sorry, can I follow up on what you just said there? You want to authorize purging of State Department personnel? What does that mean exactly?
Well, if you want to take a look at the State Department, where DEI has been a priority over, let's say, diplomacy in many accounts, I could give you hundreds of examples of where they were authorizing.
What proof do you have of that?
Sure. Let's list them off. $500,000 to expand atheism in Nepal, $50,000 to do, a transgender opera in Colombia, $47,000 to do an LGBTQ trans comic book in Peru, $20,000 a pop to do drag shows in Ecuador. Shall I continue with more examples of where DEI was the priority?
It certainly seems like there could be a review of things. Foreign aid, as you know, is less than 1% of the entire federal budget. So we're talking small amounts of money.
Wait a minute. 1% of the entire federal budget is not a small amount of money, and that doesn't mean that we should just throw it away. Okay, you're talking about $20,000 a pop for drag shows in Colombia. You're talking about $20,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. $20,000 is nothing. They spend that on lunch in the Senate building every single day. Why do we even care about 20? It's only what? Listen to what she's saying. It's only 1% of the budget. Okay, that's 1% of the budget that we could be spending on something else, like, border security or ICE agents or giving back to the taxpayers. I mean, there's so many other great things we could just not spend it at all and work on paying down the debt, which is what Elon Musk and DOJ and Donald Trump are really interested in doing. And Margaret Brennan's like, what proof do you have? All right, well, let me just go through a list of very specific items that we're wasting our money on internationally because of this ridiculous organization that Joe Biden and his cronies have supported, the Democrats have supported, because they're all padding their pockets. It has nothing to do with the United States of America aiding foreign countries. It has everything to do with the United States of America giving money back to their donors and their supporters and their members through these bogus agencies and these bogus democracy pacts and whatever. It is really just the con of the century. And Doge and Elon Musk and Donald Trump are saying it's over. You're not going to spend any more of our money. We're going to use this money to make America great again. And we're going to shut down this agency, and we're probably going to shut down the Department of Education next. And I told you people, by the way, and this is exactly why Donald Trump gave everybody the option to leave quietly. You may remember last week, he sent an email to all, 2 million some odd federal employees. And he said, hey, listen, here's the deal. You can go ahead and resign now if you feel like your agency may be under attack, if you feel like your agency may be disbanded, if you feel like maybe your agency or your job, maybe you're redundant, maybe you don't think once we start combing through the details and finding out which agencies are necessary for survival and which aren't, maybe, if you feel like you're in the this agency is not necessary pile, then what you could do is you could just quit now and we'll give you 8 months severance and benefits and you'll have till September 30th and, we'll part as friends. Or you could stick around and take your chances. And you could stick around and wait. And eventually Doge is going to come knocking. And they're going to go through your department and they're going to go through your agency and they're going to look at you and your job and they're going to say, I don't think you're necessary. And it may just be you. It may just be your job. It may just be your department, or it could be your entire agency. Like we see here with the USAID. Donald Trump warned everybody. He gave everybody the option. He said, leave now. If you're just milking the voters, the taxpayers, if you're like a worthless runt sucking on the government teat, that. And if you're man enough or woman enough to step up and say it, you're going to get 8 months pay and some severance. But if you're going to fight it, you're going to lose, just like Mexico did. And just like Margaret Brennan did on CBS. I tell you, it's almost becoming must-see TV. It's almost becoming must-see TV to watch Margaret Brennan get just pummeled by Republican lawmakers like J.D. Vance and now Brian Mast. I wonder who it's going to be next week. Maybe Marco Rubio. There's a couple of other things that I did want to mention as far as Donald Trump and his heavy-handed foreign policy, which is just so effective. And the other thing we should mention is what happened in Panama over the weekend. Marco Rubio went to Panama. And he went and he met with the Panamanian president and the Panamanian foreign minister. And the goal was to talk about the Panama Canal. And Donald Trump has made the Panama Canal it's a large portion of his foreign policy. He has said, here's Marco Rubio. He's talking to a group of Panamanians. He's in Panama talking to folks and saying, hey, here's what's going on. Wait, is that in Panama? I think that's at the embassy. Yeah. Had the pleasure of meeting the incredible U.S. Embassy team during my first embassy meet and greet in my new role as Secretary of State. By the way, that's a lovely embassy in Panama. It's really very nice. And it is well staffed with a lot of folks because, again, Panama, very important to the American economic and military supremacy that we experience. But basically what happened here is you've got, let me go back to Marco Rubio. You've got Marco Rubio, and he's sent down to Panama over the weekend, and he's sent there to meet with the president, and he's sent to say, look, we want to make it clear that the United States cannot and will not allow the Chinese Communist Party to continue with its effective and growing control over the Panama Canal. And I'm here to tell you, by the way, you're not going to continue down this path. China will not control the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal, which we built for you, which we paid for in American dollars and American lives, which we then gifted to you for some inane reason for a very low price. I mean, it was nothing for Panama. It was millions and millions of dollars for us to actually give this thing over to them. We had to build them a military. It was ridiculous. It was the dumbest move ever. Donald Trump's right about that. And then in the years following, you receiving total ownership and control of the Panama Canal, you give it to our arch nemesis, China. And now China effectively controls this canal. That's not going to happen. That's not how we're going to play this thing. That's not how this is going to work. We are going to retain control of the Panama Canal, and you are going to cease dealing with China. And that was on the 2nd of February, which was yesterday. Today, Panama vows to end key canal deal with China after Rubio lays down the Goliath. Panama President Jose Raul Mulino said that the country would not renew its 2017 MOU with China to join its Belt and Road Initiative after U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio gave an ultimatum to the nation to distance itself from Beijing. Mulino said that the decision is being taken to ensure that Panama maintains its sovereignty over the Panama Canal. So Marco Rubio heads down to Panama and says, you've got to cut off ties with China or else we're going to take back the canal. And President Mulino, much like President Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico, looked at Marco Rubio, understood that Donald Trump is a man of his word, and realized that it was in his best interest to cut ties with China and not proceed in a way that would be detrimental to his relationship with the United States of America. After an intense back and forth, Panama's President Jose Raul Mulino vowed to end a key deal with China related to the Panama Canal after his meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The assurance came after U.S. President Donald Trump complained that the Latin American nation is slowly ceding control over its critical shipping canal to Beijing. During the meeting, Mulino made it clear that his nation's sovereignty over the 51-mile waterway which connects the Pacific and the Caribbean Sea will remain unchanged. However, he made it clear that he would not renew a 2017 Memorandum of Understanding with China to join the country's Belt and Road Global Development Initiative. So they will retain control of the Panama Canal for now. For now. That's step one. There will also be ongoing discussions with Panama, I'm sure, as we continue. Donald Trump was asked about this too. Look, Donald Trump came back from Mar-a-Lago and he sat down on the on the tarmac at Joint Base Andrews, and he came out and the media was there and he talked to them and he said, "Yeah, Panama, we're not gonna allow the Chinese to have it."
Secretary of State Rubio is in Panama right now, and we're talking about the Panama Canal. What they've done is terrible. They violated the agreement. They're not allowed to violate the agreement. China's running the Panama Canal. That was not given to China. That was given to Panama foolishly. But they violated the agreement, and we're going to take it back or something very powerful is going to happen.
We're going to take it back or something very powerful is going to happen. Something very powerful is going to happen. What could that be? What could that be? I don't know. Donald Trump wasn't specific. Donald Trump didn't say, we're going to take it back or else you're going to get sanctions and tariffs, much like we just saw with Mexico and Canada. He didn't say we're going to take it back or we're going to release photos we have of you in a compromising position in a brothel in Panama City. No, he didn't say that. He didn't say we're going to bomb the you-know-what out of you. Although I will say this. Conveniently, the day before Marco Rubio flew to Panama and Donald Trump made these very straightforward and strict remarks about Panama falling into line or else, he bombed the crap out of ISIS. And he made sure everybody knew about it. U.S. airstrikes on ISIS, February the 1st, 2025, targets in Somalia. This is unclassified video of targeted airstrikes against ISIS. Donald Trump ordered these targeted airstrikes against ISIS. He's out there wiping out terrorists like ISIS. He's out there making good on his promise to wipe ISIS off the face of the earth like he did the last time until Joe Biden allowed them to come back in various different formations. And again, this isn't him threatening Panama or Canada or Mexico with military acts of violence or some kind of targeted airstrike like he did ISIS terrorists. But think about the timing. On February 1st, Donald Trump orders airstrikes on ISIS. On February 2nd, he orders tariffs on Mexico and on Canada. On February 3rd, he sends Marco Rubio down to Panama. On February 2nd, he also sends Marco Rubio down to Panama. And then today, on February 3rd, Mexico folds to his demands. Panama says they're going to stop dealing with the Chinese. And we're just, like I said, we're just waiting on Canada. They're a little slower up there. Canada's going to fold. They're going to come up with a statement saying they're talking to Donald Trump. They've already been on the phone with him. Trudeau's going to have a statement, but here's the problem. He's got to do it in English and French, so it takes a little longer It takes a little longer for him. But think about Donald Trump, this guy on the weekend. Okay, this is the weekend. It's Groundhog Day. Most of us are watching Punxsutawney Phil. We're watching, reruns of the Bill Murray movie and with Andy McDowell. We're out there. We're going, did he see a shadow? Did he not? Are we going to have 6 more weeks of winter? Is it going to be cold? Can I finally turn the AC? What's happening? What's happening with the weather? Please, Groundhog, tell us the weather for the next 6 weeks. That's what we're focused on. It was my wife's birthday. We were out getting cakes and opening gifts and having a blast, and it was fantastic. And thank you to everyone on Facebook who wished her a happy birthday. We really, she really does appreciate it. But Donald Trump, here's what he was doing. He was signing tariffs to strong-arm Mexico and Canada, 2 of our biggest allies, our border countries, so that they would crack down on illegal immigration and stop the flow of fentanyl, the free flow of fentanyl into the United States of America. Number 1. Number 2, he was sending his envoy, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, down to Panama to make sure that Panama would cut off all ties with our biggest enemy, China. Number 2. Oh, and then on top of that, just for good measure, he was ordering airstrikes on terrorists in Somalia. That was Donald Trump's weekend. And it wasn't even a work day. And he did it all from Mar-a-Lago. Imagine what's going to happen today now that he's back at work at the White House. I can only imagine it's going to be a fantastic. It's already been a fantastic first 2 weeks. It's going to be an even more amazing 2 weeks from now. In addition to that, I don't know. Do I have the photo of him of the water? Hold on. I have Chuck Schumer cooking burgers. Let me show you the water. Donald Trump ordered. You may remember. Donald Trump ordered the waterways opened up in California, and they opened up in California. And let me go to Truth Social because I know he has it there. And within a day? Within a day, water was flowing back to the empty reservoirs. Water was flowing back to where it needed to be so that the people in LA would have water to put out their fires and for their crops to grow and to make sure that their tinder wasn't bone dry so any spark could ignite it. Yeah, here it is. Look at this. This is Donald Trump on Truth Social. The water is flowing in California. These once empty half pipes are now brimming with beautiful clean water and heading to farmers throughout the state and to Los Angeles. Too bad they refused to do this during my first term. There would have been no fires. I want to thank our great military and the Army Corps of Engineers for their love of our country and speed in getting this emergency done. This is what happens when you have Republicans, when you have Donald Trump in charge, when you have common sense in charge instead of woke ideology and ridiculous pro-environmental governors like Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom could have had all of this water in all of these places where it could have benefited his own citizens, his own voters, the people that put him into office twice. He could have had the water in place to benefit them. And at the same time, he could have saved lives and property and his state's economy. But he didn't do it. Why? Because of the Delta smelt. And Donald Trump said, forget that. The water is going to flow to the people. And because of Donald Trump, the water is flowing once again to the people. And at the same time, the border, the deportations continue on the border. And you can tell that the deportations on the border are working because now there's massive, I'm talking massive protests again in LA. In LA, there are protesters, illegal aliens, and they are burning American flags and they are blocking the streets and the roads and they are chanting and screaming. And I don't even know what's going on with them, but they're so mad. They're so mad that Donald Trump is deporting illegal immigrants. In fact, today, there's something called, a day without immigrants is what's going on today. I don't understand this at all. Here we go. A day without immigrants. A day without immigrants. Minnesota's businesses taking part in a nationwide movement on Monday. This is from CBS News. Numerous businesses across the United States, including Minnesota, will shut their doors Monday. Workers will stay home and consumers are urged not to shop. The reason? A Day Without Immigrants, a nationwide initiative aimed at demonstrating the vital role immigrants play in the U.S. economy and protesting recent anti-immigration policies. The movement highlights immigrant workers' contributions and their everyday impact on businesses from restaurants to retail shops. Many local businesses, including restaurants like Michelandia Bar and Grill in South St. Paul, are participating in solidarity. Manager Alejandro Morales said his restaurant, which serves as a hub for Mexican culture, has seen fewer customers since Trump's immigration crackdown. People are afraid of coming because they might think that immigration can get in and they'll take all the people, not just our employees, but our customers as well. The decline in business has been significant, forcing the restaurant to reduce operating hours. I have a question. If you're noticing fewer restaurant patrons, if you're noticing fewer people are coming in, if you have a problem with customers coming in and your business is down and your profits are down and you're not selling as many chimichangas and cervezas and tequilas and whatever else, if that's happening, why on earth would you opt to close your business for a day? I don't understand that. I don't understand the philosophy. You know what? Business is down. We're not making as much money as we used to. The customers aren't coming in because they're scared. I know what we can do. Let's shut down for an entire day and put ourselves further in the hole. That makes no sense to me. Also, it's a Monday, and any protest, any kind of boycott that happens on a Monday or protest that happens on a Monday, I mean, come on, Monday is probably the least busy day of the week. You're like, okay, I'll shut down and protest in solidarity, but let's do it on a day where we don't make a lot of money anyway. I was in the restaurant business for years. I worked the lunch shift. I know that Monday's typically the slowest day and that it ramps up throughout the week. And Thursday and Friday, forget about it. People are already in weekend mode. Thursday and Friday lunches were like dinners at some restaurants. You had people coming in. They were already throwing back martinis, bottles of wine. It was incredible. It made mad money, but not anymore. And this day of immigrant, I don't understand. I don't understand the concept, but apparently it's a thing. These people are so upset with Donald Trump that they're shutting down their businesses. And it's happening all over. It's happening all over the country. Now, in the meantime, like I said, there are immigrant protests, and I'm trying to find I had video of it. I don't think I have it right now, but there are protests all over LA, all over California, and they're blocking the roads and they're burning the American flag. And they are protesting Donald Trump's strong immigration policies. And I don't understand this also. They're attacking cars. They're attacking the police. It's really, really weird. Salem, Oregon. It's happening here. I'll just pull up a couple of these. Like I said, I haven't purged. I haven't gone through all of these, but here's one in Salem, Oregon. This Salem, Oregon, today at Lancaster and Market. The videos were sent to me. This is a pro-illegal immigrant protest. These thugs had streets blocked off much of the day, pinning people in their cars, hitting and kicking dents in the cars, throwing firecrackers under vehicles. So these people are upset that they're getting deported. They would like to stay in the United States of America, and so they are breaking even more laws. They're breaking more laws. They're attacking police and citizens. They're waving flags of foreign countries, and they're burning the flag of the United States of America. How does that plead their case? I don't understand how that, if you're an illegal immigrant and you're scared of ICE, why are you going to go out there and light a fire and wave a flag so they know exactly where you are? They're taunting the police. They're chanting something. It's in Mexican, so I'm not really sure I understand it. But this is happening all over the country. And again, I just have to think that this bolsters, full inception there, this bolsters Donald Trump's case for rounding up and deporting the illegal immigrant criminals. And again, that's the thing that people are forgetting. It's not illegal immigrants. It's the criminals first. It's the people who came here and are members of Tren de Aragua, who are taking over apartment complexes with guns, who are eating the cats and eating the dogs, who are committing atrocities. And in fact, Joy Villa, who is a very famous pro-Trump conservative recording artist. She's the one that wore the Make America Great Again dress, and she's been canceled 1,000 times. I interviewed her at Mar-a-Lago a couple months ago. Joy Villa was at the Grammys, and she was asked about it, and she was like, yeah, I'm all about getting these Grammys wearing a red hat, and it said the hat stays on. It was very funny. Phil Murphy, the governor of New Jersey, did something really weird. I mean, more weirder than usual. He's done a lot of weird things, but he was doing like a sit-down chat or I don't know if it was, what was it? Like a town hall meeting or something. But Phil Murphy on live television admitted that he's harboring an illegal alien at his house, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the governor's mansion.
We're talking about, I don't want to get into too much detail, but there's someone in our broader universe whose immigration status is not yet at the point that they are trying to get it to. And we said, you know what, let's have her live at our house above our garage. And good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her.
Okay, so Governor Murphy is taunting federal agents to come to his house. Even says that, I mean, think about this. You're illegal. What does he say? He said their illegal status or their immigration status is not where they would like it to be.
Talking about, I don't want to get into too much detail, but there's someone in our broader universe whose immigration status is not yet at the point that they are trying to get it to.
Okay, so they're an illegal immigrant. They're an illegal alien. They're living here. They don't have papers. They don't have a visa. They don't have a green card. They don't have citizenship. They're here in New Jersey, and Governor Murphy says, look, there's somebody in my environment who's an illegal alien. And instead of working with them, or instead of, you know what I'm doing? I'm harboring them. And now I'm going to tell Fox News exactly where they are.
And we said, you know what? Let's have her live at our house above our garage. And good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her.
Could you imagine being that poor woman? And you think that, oh, Governor Murphy's so nice. He's so kind-hearted. He's going to help me out. He's going to give me a place to stay. And then all of a sudden you turn on the TV and you hear Phil Murphy say, good luck, federal immigration agents, going and apprehending the illegal woman who is living in the apartment above my garage. It's almost like he's talking in code. It's almost he's like winking at him, like, don't go round her up, ICE agents. Like maybe he's sick and maybe he's like sick and tired of he's trying to get rid of her. He's like, you know what? At first it was fun, but now she's partying all the time and she screams into the phone and she doesn't shower and now it's just a pain. I got to get rid of her somehow. You know what? Maybe I'll go on the news and I'll say, hey, ICE agents, don't even think about coming to the governor's mansion in Hoboken, in Trenton, New Jersey, pardon me, and going to the apartment above my garage and arresting the illegal woman who lives there. I mean, that sounds like a written invitation to me. I imagine they're drawing up a warrant as we speak because Tom Homan, he means business, man. Tom Homan means business. He's going to do it. And he's got Kristi Noem out there with her cowboy hat and her flak jacket, and she's given him the green light to go do whatever he wants. He's now got Doug Burgum, the Secretary of the Interior. Yes, they're still waiting on the DOJ. Yes, they're still waiting on the DNI. Yes, they're still waiting on Kash Patel at the FBI, which, by the way, these confirmations, I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't know what's going on with John Thune, but John Thune is not, John Thune is not living up to his end of the bargain. He wanted to be the Senate Majority Leader. He told everybody, hey, you know what we're going to do? We are going to stay home. We're going to stay up late at night. We're going to work weekends. We're going to do whatever we can to get these confirmations through. You know what the Senate was doing this weekend? Nerfing. They're doing nothing. They were watching, I don't know what they were doing. They were watching college football. No, there's no college football. There's not even college football on to watch. There's no NFL. This was basically this was the best weekend to work. I got so much work done this weekend. We got so much done around the house. We had such a great time. It was so productive. Got out, did some hiking with the dogs. It was great. This would have been the best weekend for the Senate to just hunker down and get stuff done. No football, no college sports, maybe a couple basketball games, but it's the week before the Super Bowl. You're not going to go out and buy beer and guacamole because it's too gosh darn expensive. Just stay at the Capitol building and confirm these nominees, and they didn't. They haven't yet. Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., they're still bickering, and they're letting the Democrats hold up the process. And you know who's not happy about it? Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not happy about it because he went again on Truth Social. And Donald Trump on Truth Social was saying, look, these Democrats they're doing everything they can to hold up the nominations. Democrats are purposely delaying virtually all of my nominees, no matter how good and well qualified someone is. They are taking maximum time for approval and laughing about it. They're having a good time at the country's expense and safety. If George Washington and Abraham Lincoln were nominated for a position, the Democrats would take it out to the last moment before having to approve. It is disgraceful. They can't get over the landslide loss suffered in the presidential election, but the Democrats don't understand with what they're doing that their losses will only get greater. Republicans must get tough and must get tough very fast. We need our nominees now for the safety and good of our country. And that includes RFK Jr., and that includes Kash Patel, and that includes Tulsi Gabbard, who looks like she may get through because even Lindsey Graham is pro-Tulsi.
Yeah, I'll be yes on her. I was waiting to see what she said about 702. That's the ability to track foreigners overseas who may be involved in plots against the country. I actually served in a reserve unit with Tulsi. I've always liked her. I think a lot of her criticism against her has been really mean and off base, but I'll be a yes now. She's shown her understanding of how vital 702 is. So I'll be a yes on RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and Kash Patel knocked it out of the park. He's the antidote to Crossfire Hurricane. He's going to go in and clean the FBI out to make sure it's never abused like it was in the past. And Crossfire Hurricane was one of the saddest, most dangerous chapters in FBI history. He's the guy that helped expose it, and he'll be the solution, not the problem, when it comes to the FBI.
All right, so Lindsey Graham Shannon Bream's like, all right, well, I gotta shut you down. But that's it. So that's got to happen, and it's got to happen fast. And Donald Trump isn't wrong. And we won't forget this. We won't forget this when the midterms roll around. We won't forget this when there's an open seat like in Michigan. We won't forget this when we're sending Scott Pressler out to go get some of these folks. We won't forget this when we're going to primary some of these folks like Susan Collins, Mitch McConnell, who's retiring. We're not going to forget about any of these people who are holding up the Senate confirmations and also who are going to vote against Donald Trump's nominees. That's going to be the big story this week. One of them. I mean, there's so many big stories every single day. I hate to tease what the big story is because it's like that's going to be one of the 9 big stories that Donald Trump creates this week. Listen, we've got a lot more to talk about, but it is time for our first ever after party. And if you would like to join us, go to Kayetriots.com, join our Locals. Locals is it's the same company as Rumble, by the way. They're intertwined. So if you're on Rumble and you want to join us and you haven't already, it's really easy to do. There's a little red button on Rumble. It says join. And if you click that little red button, then bada bing, bada boom, you're in, and you can come and hang out as a subscriber and a member of the Kayetriot Club and hang out for our after party, which, like I said, is going to start here in a couple minutes. If you're watching on any other platform, you've got a couple minutes. You can go to Locals. You can open up your account. Just go to Kayetriots.com. It'll take you right there. It's $10 a month. If you pay for the entire year up front, you only pay for 8 months. You get 2 months free. So you get a savings of $20. You get to join us for the after party every single day. You get free stickers. You get 25% off, a lifetime discount to everything in the Mark K shop. Whether it's Kayetriot gear or whether it's Gulf of America gear, whatever you want, you load up your cart and you get the biggest discount ever, 25% off if you use a special coupon code inside of the Kayetriot Club. And we're going to do this, like I said, every single day. The first one starts right now. So if you're listening to the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in today. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble or Facebook or X, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope that we were able to do what I pledge to do every single day, and that is entertain you, keep you informed, keep you enlightened, and most importantly, keep you inspired, letting you know that there is somebody in the White House that has a team of people who are working 24/7 around the clock to make America great again. And they are not only working at it, they are not only planning it, they are doing it in record time. Everything Donald Trump has on his to-do list is getting checked off faster than any of us imagined. And we will be here every single day to keep you abreast of it. So you know, A, you made the right decision, and B, you know that we've got a lot of work still left to do. And that means we've all got to stick together. We've all got to come together. We've all got to continue to fight together so that we can all save the Republic. All right. The after party begins in 3 minutes.